Hey everyone, welcome back to the new video. For those of you who don't know, I only started playing FPS games in Valorant about 2 months ago, so this is very much a beginner progression series, where each week I work on a particular skill set that needs improvement. That's what I've been doing. For example, and in the video you watched a few weeks ago, I focused on headshot accuracy. So this week, I'm going to be focusing on gun hygiene, specifically what types of shots I should be taking at various distances. To me, gun hygiene seems like the absolutely basic, fundamental skill you should know before moving forward. I feel like it's really essential that before I start even learning about headshot accuracy and stuff, I should know how I'm going to approach each fight before I take it, and depending on the opponent. So during the week, I worked on my gun hygiene and I tracked my data to show my improvement and to see if what I was doing was actually helping me. So that's what I did, and what I would like to get into now is what exactly is gun hygiene. So gun hygiene is a lot of things. For this video, I'm considering gun hygiene as taking the right fight technique based on the distance of the opponent. Now this was covered in a lot more detail by Hygiene, so I'll link his video in the description if you want to go watch that. So this is just giving you a summary of what I was doing, because I'm using his video as the basis. So if the person or the enemy is within 0 to 5 meters, so this is kind of from this to here, you run and gun basically. The idea being that you're so close that even though you're moving, you're still gonna hit them, and because you're moving, they'll miss you, and so you end up getting the kill, essentially. And luckily, in my training practice, I've been practicing my burst. So I'm pretty good at keeping on the opponent. Okay, so that's 0 to 5 meters. Okay. Then, from 5 to 15 meters, unfortunately this thing does not go to 15, it goes to 5, but I'll show you some images because I actually worked it out. So, between 5 to 15 meters, you want to strafe, right, and you want to bring your cursor onto the head, and you want to pop them like this, right? And when you land on them, that's when you go into your burst. So you'll go like that. So essentially, like say you're missing and then you hit them, you'd do that. So that's 5 to 15 meters. That makes sense? So you're kind of going from side to side, and then you hit them, and you go into your burst. And then greater than 15 meters, so when they're far away, you don't bother about doing the burst. You just strafe and try to hit them. That's pretty much it. Wrapped up. So these are the distances. I worked it out. So that's 5 meters on the left and 15 meters on the right. Another easy way to figure it out, obviously, because when you're in the battle you can't just like have a look at the image, is if you can see the features on the enemy model, then they're within 15 meters of you. If you can't, then they're greater than 15 meters of you. And if they're taking up half your screen or more, then they're generally within 5 meters of you. Now this sort of changes, my way of working this out changes as I went throughout the week, but I'll save that for when I get to it. So this would be an example of a fight at 0 to 5 meters, the run and gun. See, I move around. Medium. Long. I just want to say too, thank you so much for all the subscribers. I totally didn't expect to be on almost 80 subs in this short space of time. And I just really do, I want you guys to know, like, everyone who's subbed, I really, really do appreciate every sub I get, because it's like such a hard thing to get and earn. And I think it honestly means more to me than it means to you guys. As cheesy as that sounds, I think it really does, because, I don't know, I just think it's fucking awesome. So thank you so much. And for all the comments and everything, I love you all. Okay, for days 1 and 2, my fighting style was already the 15-meter plus playstyle, so I was well used to that, so I was expecting some good results of that. But how I was going to cope with the 0 to 5 meters and the 5 to 15 meters was interesting to me. I actually took to the run and gun style really quickly. If an opponent was close to them, I just jumped into that mode really quickly. It was excellent. The problem is I also jumped into that mode quickly in the 5 to 15 meter range where I just started running and gunning even though that is not what I was supposed to be doing. It's either that or I would just approach the fight like I would a 15 meter plus fight and just double tap with no burst. And you can see that in the data that between 5 to 15 meters I was only using the correct attack 55% of the time, which was no good. 15 meter plus was 95% of the time, which was what I would have expected. I should add too though, at the 0 to 5 meter range, my kill rate was really high. I won about 80% of all gunfights between 0 to 5 meters, so that technique works. Days 3 and 4 saw gradual improvements across the board. I was still absolutely killing it in the 0 to 5 meter range, and in fact my kill success rate rose to 85%, winning 85% of my fights. I was still holding strong, obviously, on the 15 meter plus, and I saw gradual progression in the 5 to 15 meter range. Then on day 5, things went south pretty quickly. Wait. Yeah, okay, so on day 5, things went south pretty quickly. I wasn't landing my shots, I was having terrible games, and I just got so over it. I talked to my friend. This comment here pretty sums up my day, really. And yeah, it was definitely reflected in the data. You can see I was playing really poorly there as well. Yeah, I don't know, I just feel like sometimes I just feel like a lot of pressure, you know, and then if I'm not doing very well, I feel like I'm not improving and I'm just kind of useless and not achieving anything, and it all just kind of got on top of me. Don't worry, I'm not going to delete my channel. I was just like airing out my frustrations, I think. But yeah, that was not a good day. So I put that day behind me when I woke up the next morning, and main problem I was facing was the mid-range fights. Those were the things that were inconsistent. I was doing well in the close-range fights, and I was doing well in the long-range fights. It was the mid-range fights that I needed to improve. So what I thought I was going to do is do a little bit of like behavioral kind of recognition in my brain, where every time I saw someone, I'd say out loud if they were short, mid, or long. So by saying it out loud, I'm sort of recognizing what fight I have to take, right? So the thought was, if I say mid, then I know, hey, I have to try to like strafe them, and then when I hit them I need to burst. If I say short, I know I need to run and gun. Hopefully that makes sense. Long. And it actually worked really well, way better than expected. Long.
10 kills.
Medium. Short. It's gonna be short. Middle. Medium.
Irrelevant.
Medium.
Go.
Long. Long. By God, it works. Long. My success rates at getting the right technique at the mid-range, which you can see here, shot up to above 90%. Long. Because it was the mid-range fights that was dragging it all the fights down, that also meant that across all the fights I was using the right technique 90% of the time. So everything was finally looking like it was kicking in. Another thing that I picked up on, which I found really helpful, was when I went from my mid-range fights and I was bursting, was I started using crouch a lot more, which I hadn't been doing up to that point, and I found it actually really helped. Medium. And then I was watching Royal G, who's like a Radiant coach streamer, and I noticed that when he did his burst combos, he would almost by default crouch as well. which you can see here.
Go, run. One coming up.
So they're up, Pat.
So I kind of, based on this, changed my strategy for day 7, where I thought, if I'm able to burst on them, even if they're further away than 15 meters, if I'm able to get that burst on them and crouch while I do it, then I'll just treat it like a mid-range fight. So one of the difficulties I was having was being able to tell differences between, 5 meters and 15 meters and all that. Sometimes it was like, like you don't know. And I think one of the cool things about just always going for a crouch spray if you're able to, obviously within 5 meters, like if this close, you still do the run and gun. But if it's above 5 meters and you can do a crouch spray, then I feel like, for me, it makes sense to do so. Like, say we're at 20 meters, like, I can still do a crouch spray on them, right? So I would approach it like normal fight, where I would be like, trying to double tap them, and when I feel like the double tap's gonna hit, or when the double tap hits, that's when I do a crouch spray, even if they're 20 meters. Because once you get out to about 30 meters, or even 50 meters, then obviously you're never gonna be able to do a crouch spray on them because they're just too far away, so you would just double tap. So it's kind of sticking to the rules of gun hygiene anyway, but it just makes it easier to follow, because you don't have to really think about too much. Like, there's less things to think about, and if there's less things to think about, you're more likely to do it. Basically, if they're this close and you hit them, then you just crouch and burst them. So hopefully that makes sense. That was the kind of strategy I adopted when I went into day 7. And it worked. I was really able to get those mid-range double burst combos off.
10 kills remaining.
And so this made me apply the right gunfight technique at short range, mid-range and long range. And so overall my correct technique was about 85% correct. At the end of the week, 90 to 85. So I was really happy with that. I kind of came into this week thinking like I would work on gun hygiene, and by the end of the week I'd be absolutely perfect at it and get it right, like, 90% of the time. But I've realized doing it this week is not quite like that. It's quite elastic. Like, you'll work on it, say you've got like, you're 60% accurate, and then you'll work on it for a week and you can get it above, like where I got it to, like 85 to 90%. And then you will stop working on it and it'll probably like start to regress a little bit, but it won't regress back to 60%, so it'll go down to 70%. Because I know for a fact that my headshot accuracy has dropped off since I haven't worked on it. So I'm not expecting to be perfect in this. I know that this is like a long-term thing, but I guess that's the point of doing this video and doing these drills, is to try to sort of like raise the tide up, try to raise everything up together, and just work on the things that most important at the moment. I know that I'm not aiming my cursor at head height or where it should be, so I think next week it'll definitely be trying to work on keeping that cursor at head height and see how that affects my results. But overall, it was like a really interesting week. I kind of learned that my problem area was mid-range fights, so I had to sort of work through to try to get that sorted out. And then at day 5, I kind of hit that apocalypse moment where I just, was really struggling. But it does kind of show, like, you just need to stick with it, because I kind of was really frustrated, but the next day I was like, something has to change, and I figured out a cool plan to change it, and it actually really worked really well. So it does show, perseverance does kind of pay off, and I need to stop like thinking that, like, having this expectation of myself to do well so quickly. I've just got to give myself a little bit of time, if you know what I'm saying. Like, it's hard to know how well this has affected my gameplay, and whether I have actually improved overall over the week. Now, I will leave you with this, and don't laugh at me too much, because remember, I've only been playing FPS games for 2 months, and this was a big deal to me. I was very happy about it. So I will leave this to you to know how I've been progressing, and I will see you all in a week.
One enemy remaining.
I guess that's it.
Attackers win.
Oh, man. Please, please. I've never been bronze before. Yes! Come on! Oh, I can't fucking believe that.